Hello everybody, this is Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we are here again with one of our 5-minute histories videos, and it's June. I can hardly believe it's June. We've been at this for 9 weeks. We're heading into week 10, and if you have been with us the whole ride, thanks so much, or thanks for just tuning in. And today, Baltimore is starting to spin again. We can go golfing, we can go boating, we can eat outdoors in restaurants with patios, and that's all a good thing. But it also means that the coronavirus bubble, the somewhat magical bubble that we've been in that's held everything else at bay for a while, is starting to pop, and things are starting to come due that we've been able to sort of push to the back burner for a while. We've got a comfort station in Lafayette Square that we need to get restored. We've got historic tax credits in the Baltimore Hebrew Orphan Asylum that we need to wrap up. And we've got Woodbury that's on its way, hopefully, to becoming a local historic district that we're trying to help. And although I know it seems like I'm up here just sort of spouting out stuff and flying by the seat of my pants, and that's maybe not entirely inaccurate, but in truth, these videos take a ton of time to put together. So as we enter into week 10, we're not going to abandon them by any means. They're too much fun, and we're learning too much to abandon them. But I think we are going to scale back to 3 a week. We'll try that for a while and see how it goes. All right, let's go on to our today's feature, which is the Pratt Library. And in the month of June, we normally have an award celebration to honor and say thank you for all the people who have done wonderful historic preservation projects over the last year. We're not doing that in person this year, but I thought what we'd do in the month of June is feature some of the awardees. And today's awardee, the Pratt Library, is just extraordinary. In fact, our board of directors not only gave it an award, but sort of singled it out as a project that was maybe once in a generation, or maybe even once in several generations. But we'll get to the restoration work. Let me start by reading the words that Enoch Pratt said in giving a gift to found the library in 1882. He said, "My library shall be for all, rich and poor, without distinction of race or color, who, when properly accredited, can take out the books if they will handle them carefully and return them." What a great quote. Open to everybody, but you better be nice to the books. So 1882, Enoch Pratt gives this gift of $1 million. Pratt, by the way, was born in Massachusetts, came to Baltimore as a young man, made a fortune selling wholesale hardware at a time that we were shipping anvils and hammers and whatnot out west, maybe out to Hagerstown or Cumberland. Then made even more of a fortune in railroads and ironworks and steamship lines. And being the Unitarian that he was, he gave back to the city enormously with the library and one other institution that many of you will know, Moses Sheppard and Enoch Pratt, the mental health system, Sheppard Pratt, that was him also. So 1882, the gift was given. In 1886, the first library opens up. It took an act of the state legislature and a vote of acceptance by Baltimore City voters. In 1886, the main library in 4 branches, one in Canton, which is still operating as a Pratt Library, one in Federal Hill, one in Union Square, and one in Upton. Those were the original 4. And in fact, as somewhat of an aside, the very first African-American Baltimorean to take out a library card was a young man who had just graduated from college. He was on his way to law school, and his name was Sythe Cummings. He was the first to take out a Pratt Library card, and he was also the first African-American to be elected to city council. So the moral there is pretty clear. Get a library card, read books, do great things. So pretty soon after Pratt gave his gift, Andrew Carnegie, and if you're from Pittsburgh, you know it's Carnegie, not Carnegie, and I almost get my head chopped off my Pittsburgh relatives if I say it wrong. But he was so inspired by Enoch Pratt's gift that he gave Baltimore money to build up to 20 more branches. So our central branch and our multiple neighborhood branches are a combination of Pratt and Carnegie gifts. I thought what we'd do before we get to the restoration is let me just read a few milestones in the Pratt Library's history. These are kind of fun. I'm going to have to read here. Let's see. 1943, the library began a horse-drawn book wagon. World War II, the sub-basement was designated as an air raid shelter. 1949, the film department opens. 1951, a woman named Amy Winslow becomes the first female director. 1967, telephone reference services begin. 1969, Kenneth Wilson of the Afro becomes the first Pratt African-American board member. 1974, now get this date, 1974, the first online database subscription. Pratt has its first online database subscription. It's the New York Times Info Bank, and we were the first ones in the country to adopt, to sign on to that online system. 1982, Pratt gets its first computer. It's called EPIC, the Enoch Pratt Info Counselor. 1993, Carla Hayden becomes director, and of course is now the director of the Library of Congress. 1994, Maryland is the first state to offer its citizens internet access, and it does that through a system called Sailor. And where is Sailor housed? Of course, at the Enoch Pratt Library. And 2019 is when the Pratt Library completed its $115 million restoration project, and we're going to talk about that right now. The Pratt, by the way, was designed by an architect named Clyde Fritz. Fritz's other great works were a number of apartment buildings in Tuscany, Canterbury, and he helped out with the Scottish Rite Temple at 39th and Charles Street, if you know that. And Fritz designed the Pratt Library, the current one, in 1933. It replaced the original one. And he had this great quote. He said he wanted the library to have a dignity characterized by friendliness rather than aloofness. So if you think of the New York Public Library and its big steps and its big institutional character, that's not what Fritz wanted. Art Deco, down to earth, all the way. So the current library restoration work is just magical. If you haven't been, when we're allowed to go, it will literally take your breath away. The terrazzo floors were refinished in the main hall, and the ceiling in the first floor reading rooms, the stenciling, there were archival photographs found of the stenciling, and that was recreated on canvas and then affixed to the ceilings. Basically, every inch of surface was gone over, not only to do a historic restoration project, but also to make this, the system in the library more modern, more accessible, to create spaces where people could collaborate in learning. And I want to say, in wrapping up, I want to say a personal congratulations to everybody who is involved in this project, and also offer what I know is a almost universal thanks to all of us in Baltimore, all of us Baltimoreans, who dearly love the Pratt, and we have collectively for over almost 150 years. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on Wednesday.